We are only a week away from saying goodbye to 2023. I'm not going to lie, and especially for the realtors, I believe this is one of the hottest years since the sales volume is drastically down. I'm talking about sales that were historically low. However, I am very thankful and feel very appreciative since for the past 2 months, it wasn't that bad for me, and for that, I am very thankful. In this video, I will probably discuss a few topics related to real estate throughout the year and what I learned from them. Hopefully that won't throw off some people because it's going to be some random topic. Looking back, I have a few transactions to put together and close just before the new year. But even if I hadn't done that much work in the slowest month of the year, there is still plenty of work to be done. And that means establishing relationships with the clients. Over the years in real estate, I have learned that in order to work with a client, it takes time. I know there are many who are probably looking for instant gratification, but I quickly learned that in my career as a realtor, this takes patience. Most of the clients that end up working with me take 6 months, if not a year, to work with me. And that also resonates with me. If I were to look for a home, I would probably take my time to research, since that would be one of the biggest investments one could make in their lifetime. Having said that, I don't mean there is no work to be done in the slowest month, and that's why preparing the work for the busy season is also important, and that's why there is as much work for the slow season. Connecting with clients either through my own client list or by means of talking on the phone is not necessarily business, but mainly connecting with the clients, and I think that is plenty to do during the holidays or for realtors during the winter from November until spring. Let's be honest, everyone has people that you don't speak to for a long time during the year when you are busy, and that is why the slow time is the best time to catch up. Don't you agree? Now, commitment is one attribute that I don't find in many of my peers, and it is something that I've been consistently practicing the most throughout these years. In fact, you are watching my video now, which is part of my commitment since I became a realtor. I've been at least making a video a week since 2019 and barely missed once or twice. Speaking of making videos, I hope that those who watch my weekly videos could also appreciate the effort, because it does require a good chunk of time. For me, it is also time spent on research, then time dedicated to film, and then editing. I wish I knew everything at first, but for each of these tasks, I had to learn along the way when I first became a realtor. Come to think of it, I also tried to see what other high performance realtors do, and it is really just a handful that I find who kept consistently making the videos. Not going to lie, it is a grind to do this consistently, but that is why I see why they kept doing it, because most consumers in the market also look at social proof as today's part of their determined factor to pick the realtors. I guess that is also part of what they see as commitment in a realtor, because that also reflects how they do things and take them seriously. This also translates to my commitment to my clients when helping them list the property or purchase the property. One funny comment came from my client asking me to put the slogan, "A realtor who replies to your messages." The funny part is that I find many realtors, especially those that are working part-time, tend to return messages either a few hours later or sometimes a day later. To be honest, that also ticked me off, and that is the reason I pay extra attention, especially when I'm helping clients submitting offers or in the middle of negotiation when times really matters. Reflecting on the entire year, I would like to address one of the questions that I often get asked, and that is to buy or to sell at this time. I know most people would not turn to a realtor for an honest opinion on this, since most will assume that we just want the business. The truth is, it would be an easy thing to say for a realtor to tell the client to sell it, but unless the realtor is looking at the short term, this might be a very bad outcome for the realtor. Yes, during the past decades, it takes literally a few days to get the property sold with a ridiculous price over asking, and everybody is happy. But let's be honest, at the current state, most properties are selling at much lower than expected. The relationship could quickly turn sour when the client is not happy with what they can sell for and simply blames the realtor and overlooks the market. Unless the client is in a situation where they must sell, such as getting into a divorce, financial difficulties, or whatever the situation is, I would probably ask the client to give a second thought on selling. For myself, I value my client's interest in the long term, and more often than not, we end up taking care of the entire family, the extended family, and friends referral purchases. For those realtors that want to get a quick transaction, they will probably end up in a single transaction and never see the client again, and that is an outcome that I don't think I will look forward to. Now, who would be the buyers in this high interest environment? More often than not, 9 out of 10 people that I encountered when I was on the listing side were low ballers. Of course, you will be pissed off if you are the seller, but to think about it a little more, it is understandable what the buyers are thinking since the interest is so high. I would have been better if you were an end user, but it is more difficult for investors to invest if the price is not much reduced. I guess that also tells us why there are historic low sale transactions when both the sellers and buyers are not meeting in the middle. Let's set aside the end users buyer from the upsizers, the downsizers, relocations, and personal matters, which are obviously the only logical way that they would purchase real estate in this current state. The high interest pretty much wipes all the investor out of the equation, including all the pre-construction. But what are the small percentage of investors remaining? They are the ones that, based on what I've seen on the market, had some cash on hand after their personal situation was liquidated and were unsure about where to put it. I spoke with a client who had sold one of their homes to a relative. Another client has sold their business and has some cash on hand. These are but a few instances of folks who wish to stash some extra cash they didn't need anywhere. In this high inflation environment, most people don't want to hold cash since it will lose value every day. So where would you put the money? Stocks, mutual funds, banks, businesses, real estate? Let's be frank, in a recession, none of those look attractive, but I'm sure there are a portion that would still prefer to put it in a real estate and let it sit for a long period of time. At least for Toronto in the past 3 to 4 decades, it is still a reliable bet. We just had the most recent inflation number for the month of November, and it is the same as last month in October at 3.1%, which at least did not go up. The most interesting part of the monetary policy is this chart of shelter price inflation. I'm glad they shared this graph, and that pretty much tells us we are actually already on a target of closer to 2%, but they simply don't want to emphasize it because it is the interest rate that creates it. In short, let's take a look and note that the black line is the shelter price inflation. Green represents the mortgage interest cost. The light blue is the home prices, and you can see that every time the green goes below zero, when the interest is very low, the light blue, which is the home prices, usually goes up. During the span from 1996 to 2023, we can see only a handful of times the interest went below zero, and that happened during 1998, 2001, 2008, 2012, and 2020, which is the shortest one ever that we witnessed most recently, and the crazy money printing that caused the home prices to rise significantly. And when that happens, mortgage expenses rise when the government pivots to combat inflation. There is a pattern in this chart. During prior 1996, there was a decline in home prices, and then we had one near 2008, and ironically, we are in the third time we have seen this since 1996, and that usually also matches high mortgage interest costs, which is what we are experiencing now. Obviously, this pivot time takes a long time to recover, but we could also see that the rate might have reached its peak. In addition, the current green area that represents the high mortgage cost is really close to a full percentage point. If we subtract this mortgage interest cost from the current inflation rate, which was created by the high interest rate, we are actually close to the target of 2%. With this, I leave you with something to think about going through the next year in 2024. I'm also curious that you think what would happen next, so make sure you leave a comment down below. It is the holiday season on the horizon, and I wish all you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This will be my last video this year, and I will be making more videos in 2024. Stay positive, guys, and I can't wait to gather more with families and friends to celebrate. Happy holidays. Cheers.